My name's the Reverend Daniel Henderson, and I'm the minister of Moneyslane Free Presbyterian Church, and welcome along to another one of our devotionals. Now, today we're going to do something a little bit differently. In fact, completely different. We're not going to look at the new church hall at all. Rather, we're going to go back in time and remember some of our history. You see, the month of May is a very important and special month to the congregation in Moneyslane, because it was in May, and more specifically the 16th of May 1970, when our church building was originally opened for the preaching of the gospel. And this month marks 50 years since the original church building was open for the glory of God. And I think it's a wonderful and a fitting tribute that our brand new church hall is opened in the same year, the 50th year and 50th anniversary of the original church building being built. Now you may ask, well, what's the point in remembering history? But history is very important, and history needs to be remembered because it reminds us of all of God's goodnesses, even in the years that have gone by. And in Moneyslane, we do thank the Lord for all of his goodness toward us in this building over the last 50 years. Now, the Free Presbyterian Witness began in Moneyslane in 1966, and that came as a consequence of the imprisonment of Dr. Paisley, the Reverend John Wiley, and the Reverend Ivan Foster. And in Moneyslane and in this district, there were a people of God that felt very strongly about beginning and starting a separated witness for the gospel. And so, after approaching the Reverend Dr. John Douglas, eventually a church was planted in Moneyslane Orange Hall, and the work of God commenced on the first Sabbath day in October in 1966. That was, more specifically, Sunday the 2nd of October 1966. In the morning, there were 65 people attended, and then in the evening, over 250 people came to hear the word of God preached. And the Lord greatly blessed the ministry of Dr. Douglas in this place and the various ministers after him, and we still are enjoying God's blessing. Since 1966 and the work of God beginning in Moneyslane Orange Hall, the Free Presbyterian Witness felt it was time to build a building for themselves, and this ground was kindly granted, and so the building that is behind me went up to the glory of God. And as already said, the 16th of May 1970, it was officially opened as a preaching house to the glory of God. And many people left their churches that were no longer preaching the gospel in the area, took a lot of grief too for doing it, separated for Christ's sake, And so the witness has gone from strength to strength ever since, and we thank the Lord for it. And all of these things remind me, just by way of bringing a short verse to you as we close. In Deuteronomy chapter 6 and the verse 12, we read concerning the children of Israel, and we read concerning their wilderness journeyings being over after being released from Egyptian bondage, and they've come to the promised land, and the Lord tells them, don't forget your history. Don't forget the goodness of the Lord toward you. Don't just take it all for granted. And really, that's what I want to bring to you today. Don't take the church building for granted. Don't take the new church hall for granted, but return the Lord the glory for all of his goodness toward us. Now in Deuteronomy chapter 6, it says in the verse 10, and it shall be, when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells digged which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, when you've got all of these good things in the promised land, he says, then beware, lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. In Moneyslane Free Presbyterian Church, we enjoy the blessings and the bounty and the goodness of the Lord now, but we need to remember that at one time we were in the house of bondage. We were once in Egypt. We were once stuck in the apostasy. But the Lord has brought us out. The Lord has made us a faithful band of people gathered about the Scriptures. And my friend, I urge you with the Lord in Deuteronomy, beware lest thou forget the Lord. Don't be at ease in Zion, but thank him every day, especially in this month that marks 50 years since the original church building was put up. Thank God for his mercies toward us, for his goodnesses to us. And my friend, ultimately you remember this, that this preaching house was built for a purpose. What was the purpose? To tell you you needed to be saved. And if you're listening to this broadcast and you don't know and love Jesus Christ as yet, remember this. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. God bless you, and see you again soon.